Second oral question, Lord Moylan.
My Lords, I beg leave to ask the question standing my name on the order paper.
Making fares more affordable for bus passengers is one of the government's top priorities, as we know how important it is for those passengers. The government is looking at the future of the national bus fare cap as a matter of urgency, and we are considering the most appropriate and affordable approach for the future of the scheme.
My Lords, the noble Minister must know that if a decision is not made very, very quickly, almost immediately, the bus companies will not be able to implement the policy from the 31st of December. Is this another one of those questions which is caught up in the pantomime of chaos in Downing Street? And why should passengers suffer because the government can't make a timely decision?
I don't recognise any of the pantomime within the Department of Transport. This is one of their top priorities. They are putting extra resource into the department to deal with it. They know how important it is that local authorities working with their partners can deliver this and how popular it is. But you're right, it finishes in December 24. The outcome was delayed before the election, but I can assure you they are treating it as absolute top priority.
Yeah. So the numbers travelling by bus outside London have declined significantly in recent years. And as a priority, we need to get young people back on buses because they need access to those buses for jobs and education. Does the most appropriate and affordable scheme that the noble lady, the Minister, refers to include a standard reduced youth fare or even a scheme for free fares for young people?
The most important aspect of taking this forward is that it's for local determination. The money going to local authorities is not ring-fenced. They are able to look at different schemes for their particular localities. Obviously, the areas where youth schemes have been brought in have been very successful. But I would look at Greater Manchester, the increase in passengers from the way that they're moving forward, and let's hope we can roll it out across the country.
My Lords, can the noble Baroness, the Minister, say if the government is taking any particular action with respect to coastal and rural communities? Going back to the noble lady's remarks around young people having access, the need to travel to get to work, and yet the infrastructure is completely destroyed in some of these areas.
I think rural communities come up all the time when we're talking about bus services. I have lived in the wilds of the Yorkshire Dales in the past. I know exactly how important it is. But the important thing is local determination can highlight priorities, but we know how much the bus cap has helped rural communities over the last few months, and this is something that will be of great concern as we consider how we take it forward.
My Lords, most of the money that comes to the bus company's income is derived from the public purse. Will the Minister make sure that we get value for money for the taxpayers and stop bus companies ripping us off?
I think my noble friend hits a very sensitive and important issue. Value for money has to be driven throughout any scheme that we come up with, and that is one of the top priorities of the work that is happening as we speak.
The Minister said that the Department was working really very hard to get a solution to this important problem. But could she put a better timescale on that, given that there's only a few weeks to go before the current funding scheme comes to an end? Is the government actually holding this for a nice, hopeful announcement on Budget Day?
Well, of course, the budget is an important consideration as we go forward. We know it's coming up very soon, but I would like to assure the noble Lord that the work is carrying on at the moment. More capacity has gone into the department to deal with this. They know that the clock is ticking and how important it is that a decision is made.
Lords, my Lords, the last government recognised very much that in rural areas it's sometimes very difficult to have a traditional bus service. That's why we invested millions of pounds in demand-responsive transport. Can the Noble Baroness, the Minister, say today whether the new Labour government will be looking favourably on that mode of transport?
I would just like to say that at the moment all options are on the table. Obviously, the Noble Baroness will remember our conversations during COVID in terms of working with the operators and with the local authorities. There are so many aspects of this, but nothing is off the table. We are looking at the history and how we can take things forward.
My Lords, would the Minister accept that for once we've had a sensible suggestion from the opposition front bench? Would she agree with me that reducing the £2 fare to £1 and extending it, which would help both passengers and bus companies, could very easily be paid for by taking the £2 billion or so needed from the roads budget, which will enable the honourable member who asked the question opposite to rattle on again about the war on motorists?
I think it's above my pay grade to talk about the outcome of the budget discussions that are taking place. This is a critical moment going forward, where we have the budget at the end of October. All of these factors need to be taken into account, and looking at value for money, how we can get the best bus services. And we mustn't forget the reason for doing this is for the passengers, bus passengers. Buses are so important for our communities. They are lifelines for people going to work, meeting up with their loved ones, an essential service that I'm afraid has fallen foul to the price of profitability in too many cases.
My Lords, my noble friend, try and ensure that when a decision is made on what kind of bus subsidy we have, there's a long-term element to it, because it's very difficult for bus companies and their passengers if the services and the frequency and the fares seem to change every few months, as they have done in the last years.
Can I thank my noble friend for that suggestion, and it's one that I will certainly pass on to the Department for consideration.
Can the Noble Minister confirm that there are no plans to take away special arrangements for elderly passengers, either on buses or on other forms of public transport?
I assume the noble lady is referring to the English National Concessionary Travel Scheme. I am able to tell you we have absolutely no plans to withdraw it, reduce it, or means test it in the future.
My noble friend said that all options are on the table, and I welcome that. Among the options, could she consider using her influence to ensure there is better coordination between buses and railways? I could give her nightmare examples of where the lack of coordination, it would smooth things for passengers and improve the use of buses.
I completely agree with my noble friend. There is no point having a regular train service if passengers can't reach it by bus, and it's always the consideration of the last mile of a journey. If people get into their cars, they tend to stay in their cars. It's a very important aspect that's been picked up by looking at the bus open data service. Bus companies sharing their data has been an enormous problem. Anyone in the north of England knows that that helped to prevent us bringing in an Oyster-style ticketing service across the north. Absolutely crucial that we get this right, and all companies are obliged to share the information.
Could I press the noble lady a little bit further? She's given a very positive answer on the concessionary fares for the elderly, but in her response she's not actually given a commitment to the continuation of the £2 fare. Could I ask her to give a little bit more of a positive answer, what the timetable will be, and that there will be no cliff edge from the 31st of December this year, particularly for those young people and those living in rural areas who don't benefit from the concessionary fare, which has played such a positive role in rural transport?
I hope I made it clear that the success of the scheme is well recognised. We look forward, but obviously we have to look at all the aspects to make sure that going forward it is sustainable, that it isn't something that we have to come back to in the future. But so many people have depended on it. It's very popular. And actually, of all the schemes that have come into place, it is very well known. The public actually know about it, and it has led to an increase in patronage. People have actually changed their habits and gone from forms of transport that they formerly used to using the bus, and that, in my view, has been a real success.